We are seeking for all elections to be conducted in one day, reducing the cost of conducting elections, getting more citizens involved on election day, and reducing to the barest minimum the possibility of rigging, because you will have those interested in the presidency, in the governorship, in the state assembly, in the national assembly, in the local government, all turning up to vote for their different candidates. Each of the polling units will be populated, and that can help to provide a lot of defense. And we're also pushing for all pre-election matters to be settled 30 days before election to avoid a situation that people are sworn in and we are still in court on who is the candidate of that political party. And also that post-election litigation should focus only on the outcome of the election, not on the things that happen before the primaries, because those things does not matter once the people makes their decision. And that is why before the people make their decision, all pre-election matters must be settled. And also post-election litigations must be decided before the person is sworn in. That means we are tinkering with the timeline for the election to give room and accommodate the fact that every litigation must be addressed before swearing in. And also mandatory transmission of results and 7 years with option of no fine for any electoral officer who makes any announcement of a false result that is not in tandem with the result that is expected to be electronically transmitted from the polling unit alongside the accreditation. I'm also trying to legalize the innovation by INEC, where the dashboard also have the number of accreditation popping up automatically, different from whether you transmit or you don't transmit. This will also help for us to automatically know the total number of people who voted in that particular area. To provide that elections to the offices of the president, state governors, national assembly, state houses of assembly, and FCT area council shall be conducted simultaneously on the same date, which is to be determined by INEC in consultation with the National Assembly. What we are seeking here is that instead of wasting money going for elections from one Saturday to another, that the country can gain more if all elections are held in one day. The advantage in this is that there's going to be high turnout of voters on election day. There's going to be high level of vigilance from voters. And once the first result is announced at the lower level of the elections, the accreditation remains the same and cannot change by the time you get to the presidency. So single day election will save us resources, will bring more participation, and will ensure the credibility of the electoral process. Focusing on, like I said before, we have other ones on economic reforms, social reforms, and so on and so forth, which are going to come later. But we're taking up with this, is that this energy we spend in battling over which of the zones should produce, issues of inclusion and so on and so forth, and the attendant costs can be waived if we all agree that power should rotate between north and the south and among the 6 political zones. And also, the amount of money and distraction that goes into seeking for second term, and how politicians, because they want to get a second term, will not be concentrating much on what they're supposed to do. We now said, let's have a 6-year single term so that once you're elected, you know that you have a mandate to run for 6 years without fearing anybody or anything, as long as you're in line with the provision of the law. And that also goes with ensuring that the electoral process is credible with all elections holding in a single day. And then one will say, if we say it's a 6-year single term, what if the president dies? And then are we going to have a repeat of what happened in the time of Jonathan when another person comes from another zone and it might distort that zoning arrangement? We have put provisions in place to ensure that when we say it's 6-year single term for a particular zone, it remains 6 years and it can never change. And that is why the bill is now proposing for the position of 2 vice presidents. One will be a vice president for succession, which will come from the same zone with the president, and the other one will be vice president administration from the other part of the country. And what that means is that in the event of death of the president or impeachment of the president, the second vice president's succession assumes office immediately and completes the remainder of that time and cannot seek any election. With that, if it is the turn of the north or the east and they have 6 years, that 6 years will remain 6 years and it will not change, because even if it's impeached or even if the president dies, the second vice president's succession will be sworn in immediately to complete the remainder of that time. And also, in order not to incur extra costs on the country, this vice president will now have ministerial status, being the only vice president being the minister, only minister from that state. So instead of having 2 ministers, it's going to be 1 minister. Once that person is elected as the vice president succession, he automatically becomes minister for that state. So we are not going to spend extra costs maintaining that office.